Welcome everyone to Wednesdays. And what do we have on Wednesdays? We dedicate Wednesdays to neuroscience, psychology, and all of that good stuff to make sure that we keep track of our mental triggers, to keep track of psychological behaviors that could be detrimental for your trading. As always, I have Dr. Jerome here with me. Jerome, how are we doing today?
Good morning, Coach Deeyana. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me and having us today, as always. Welcome to Neuro Wednesdays.
Okay, so what do we
Closing.
oh sorry, did we
Hear me?
lose you? Yeah, you cut out there
No,
for a minute.
yeah. Good morning. Very happy to be here. I said, yeah, it's
Yes.
halfway of June, almost closing the first quarter of 2025. So a lot of things to reflect at the end of this month. Internally, externally, what did we achieve? What have we accomplished? How forward have we moved? What were your goals starting this year, whether it's September or January? How far have you achieved them? What's your next plans for the second quarter? So yeah, pretty juiced up today. How about you?
Yeah. I'm trying to get off caffeine. We were just talking a little bit in the green room. Not sure how that's going to go. I am feeling a little bit bleh, but we'll see. I'm trying to be healthier. I'm trying to work on myself, and yeah, so we'll see how how the no caffeine goes. It could be completely a complete car crash. I could be just not present at all, but it's time to try and maybe start my day with like water and rehydrating myself rather than dehydrating myself. So yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. But yeah, time for reflection. Today is FOMC day, so it is a big one. We could see some unwinding moves ahead of the FOMC. I can see that copper has already kind of made a good attempt at that. Um, so be careful today. Like I said, irrational moves on FOMC day can happen. And then on the other extreme, we could have just nothing in the run up to it, like a super dull day. So it's either we are experiencing semi apocalypse or nothing's happening. So there's no like middle ground on FOMC day. But whatever you do, just make sure that you at least control your risk, maybe size down a bit. For the London session, if you do trade, that doesn't have to be the case because it's so far away, right? It's a completely different session. But just keep that in mind. So don't go full porting all of your accounts, and be mindful. All right, let's kick off the Neuro
Exactly.
Wednesdays.
You mentioned it perfectly. This is a very packed week. You probably have mentioned it before on your segments. I wasn't watching. Sorry for that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, very packed week. We have the rollover on the future contracts. We have FOMC today, again halfway of June. So yeah, lots of volume. If you've won so far, be careful, and if you've not, be more careful. So before we start, as usual, does anybody have questions, perhaps reflections since last week's session? If not, I'm going to present, or if yes, even though I'm going to present, and Coach Deeyana, of course, if you have points you want to mention or questions or reflections, please welcome to share so. And today we're going to focus a bit on consciousness, attention, mainly about how you process things in your mind. So we've been going through these concepts from the first session, and today I'm gonna share with you some practical exercises that I use with patients, but more clients than patients, because with patients it's more therapeutical than practical. And if we have time, there's another visualization we could do, but yeah, we'll see what we have time to do. I bet today's session, I hope, is going to be liked. You're going to be able to have some very fast exercises and tools, like 1 2 minutes 30 seconds tools that will help you shape these attention flexibility skills. So yeah, let's wait a couple minutes if you want. So, and if we don't have any questions or any points, we'll go through.
Yeah, I think we have one question. Can you explain the flow in trading, same as from the book Trading in the Zone. Do you subscribe to the idea of flow? Can we be in flow? Because I'm a little bit undecided on that one. It's like flow, what's flow?
Well, my healthcare app is called Inflow, so
In
I
flow.
100%
Okay,
believe
so yes.
in the concept of flow. There's a concept of flow in the brain as well, and in the heart
Hmm.
waves. So, I mean, we could define flow by a lot of definitions.
Yeah.
But globally, yeah, when you are in the flow, let's say you are in your zone, uh, to explain in the most simple way the flow in trading, you are in the flow. I would consider myself in my flow
Hmm.
when I am aware that I am present and centered. So I am not overwhelmed, I am not tilt, I am not urged. I am very calm, very present, very aligned. I can breathe before I click. I can observe the observer. I can know if I am stressed. I can feel my hands, my palms, or they sweaty, or they cold. I am. Does my heart beats fast? Do I shake? Do I not? Etc. Like the more awareness, the more inner self attention you have, the more in the flow you are. So that would be how I explain it. But on a brain on a brain dimension, yeah, it's more complex. You can't prove it unless we put electrodes on your mind. So hope it was clear enough. Do you believe in the flow, whether it's in trading or anything else?
I mean, I would think that our goal as traders would be to get to a point where you're so mechanical. At least that's been my goal as a trader. You get so mechanical in your trading that you don't need flow. You're just calling upon that autopilot part of yourself to do the same things over and over without having to kind of go into this like put on a robe, let's still go into a lotus position and go and then it's like flow, because that's kind of how I imagine flow, that you have this like mystical state that is unattainable unless you do all of these things. I think that's like way too much effort, right? So for
Yeah.
me, I like to focus on data, I like to focus on price action, I like to have clearly defined entries and exits and conditions. Do I need flow for that? No, I just need to know how to read a flow chart, right? And to me, that's been more helpful than any sort of, um, anything that you can do outside of it comes after you've put in the mechanical parts of yourself as a trader. Anything after that, it's like, oh, am I a little bit annoyed today, or did I sleep well, or are my dogs barking at nothing again? But the concept of flow, I think it's too wishy-washy, I suppose, and too many people in trading rely on it to sort out issues that should be really looked at in your journals and in the systematic part of your approach. That's my thoughts. Doesn't mean that I'm right or wrong. It's just I know what worked for me and what didn't work for me. No amount of meditation is going to help you if your strategy is not good and it has like flawed parts to it. But sort that out, and hey, presto, magically, some of the psychological issues you thought you had, or fear and lack of confidence, they just melt away. So from that perspective, this is why I'm saying I don't subscribe to the whole flow thing. But I can see that for some people, maybe if they have an extremely busy lives, if they have a chaotic household around them, they would need to get themselves into a space mentally where they will be able to make good trading decisions outside of the external distractions. Does that make sense?
Completely, yeah. Another definition of flow is, I mean, could be um, having the least distractions possible. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
let's say you don't have distractions or you have only a few, then you have all the aligned elements in your mind and body to be in your zone. You explained it properly. You need
Mm-hmm.
your entries, exit. You need to have your elements, your references, your reference points, and not being distracted. And that is how it is in the flow. We can do an analogy with athletes, professional athletes or not professional, and musicians as well.
Yeah.
The more distracted you are, the more likely you are to make a mistake. But the more you reduce this noise,
See, as
Yeah,
a
go ahead. Go ahead.
professional musician, I also don't subscribe to that.
Okay.
Because when you get to a certain level of skill, like when I was doing gigs all the time, you didn't have time to sit down and get yourself in the zone. It's like you're on the plane, you're on the bus, you're in the van, you're on the way to the gig, then you're doing a sound check. After that, you're like running around trying to, sort yourself out and get the costume ready or whatever, get the makeup done. There's no time to, to sit down and go, I'm going to be in flow. You either do your job properly or you don't. And it's a skill level thing, I think. It's not necessarily, oh, we have to be in the flow. No, it's just something you do automatically. You've practiced this skill so many times that it's just in almost in your DNA at this point. So there's no mistakes. It's like if you make a mistake, you just gotta push through it. There's no, oops, I made a mistake. Band, can we just stop for like 3 seconds until I sort myself out? There's no time for that. So, and I think trading is kind of high paced like that as well, because you have, a couple of opportunities when your setup is there, price action is doing what it's doing, and it's like you have to just take it. If you don't take it, yes, you will miss it, and you have to be okay with that. So maybe that's where the flow can come, being okay with maybe missing things out because your brain is not where it's supposed to be. But again, as a professional musician, there's so many things, happening around you when you're about to do a gig or a concert. There's no time for anything else. If you are not good enough to prevent mistakes as a result of distractions, you're going to find yourself in an environment that's very harsh, and nobody cares what's going on around you and whether that's bothering you or not. They just come there to see you perform. And I think as traders, it's a harsh truth that maybe it's the same way. You have to turn up, perform, and find ways to get yourself into that space, right? But do you have time to do that? People have families, people have children, people have, so there are some real life challenges there that I sometimes think that the books that talk about the flow and this and that, it's like we all, what, we're supposed to be monks now? Like,
I mean,
otherwise you won't be a good trader.
no, yes, but sorry to interrupt, but I think I misexpressed myself. I never mentioned or never wanted to mention that flow is a purposed mode. I never said
Okay.
you gotta see it. I never said you gotta practice something to get into the flow, did I?
No, but you said that no distractions, otherwise you will make a mistake.
Yeah,
That's
but
why I said
you
that.
you gave the same answer as I did, but in
Yeah.
different way. Please let me
Okay.
explain. You
Yeah,
mentioned
sure. Yeah.
the no, no, but it's very very interesting. I love that you counter it. So basically, you mentioned automatisms, right?
Yeah.
And that is linked to repetition. So basically, you are able with time, with repetition, to have built an automatism that allows you to take into consideration or not distractions and just follow on. You don't think about, yeah, I'm in the floor or not. You don't think about the crowd or not. You think of it or not. So if you
Yeah.
think about it, you are stressed, you are concerned, you are not in your practice, right? So you are not in the flow, let's say, but that's, you're not trained enough. Let's call it this way. Let's say flow is an expert trained inner skills individual. Okay, let's call it
Okay.
this way.
Yeah.
But that's how I would perceive it. For example, flow is a state you acquire through time and repetition. And
Hmm.
for me, it's not mystical. And unfortunately, I completely agree with you. There's a lot of hype around, like we call the mind hype, the flow hype, the Zen
Yeah.
hype, etc. People take advantage of it. People create waves, they ride them, they create fake momentums, and people are like, oh yeah, it's the flow. No, it's
Yeah.
just your inner skills that gets repeated and trained, but yeah, it completely makes sense. And you will never, even for an athlete, you will never see an athlete before a competition sitting and be like, I'm meditating before the competition. They would perhaps do this in
Yeah.
the locker room, right?
Yeah.
Perhaps,
Maybe.
but
Yeah.
they put all their training in the line and the run once the time goes, right? Let's
Yeah.
say it's a running competition. So yeah, sorry for the confusion. Flow is a result of long term repetition of action and pattern and skills that allowed you to be stronger inside towards outside stimulus. Does it make more sense?
That
Or
makes perfect sense. Yeah, thank you for clarifying. And I love the fact that you kind of went deeper with it rather than just, oh, it's some mystical flow. No, it's like a result of repetition and practice that makes it really easy for you to reach that flow state. But it's a skill based thing, right? So the more you practice, the easier it sort of gets. But yeah, so that's our view on the flow. So we kind of got there through different explanations, but we are talking about the same thing effectively,
yeah, I
which
mean,
is awesome.
I'm not surprised we are on the same page, and I love every time I
Yeah.
mention something with the brain. I love hooking it with sport and music because you've been in both. I've been deep in sport, but not in music, so I can't relate to it, even though I would love to. So it's
Hmm.
very interesting and important for us as well to have these talks because sometimes we speak differently about some concepts, but we want to say the same things, and sometimes we confront ideas, and it's very much constructive. So love that.
Hmm.
I have a scientific approach. You have a grounded approach, and we mix
Hmm.
them. And you have, of course, obviously a scientific one. But I'm focused on the theoretical part. You on the practical, and we merge them, and it's a beautiful cocktail.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
agree.
guys love it? Do you enjoy it?
And then Nestor says to me, as if I haven't been doing this for 18 years, check out the book called In the Zone by Mark Douglas. Only one of the biggest books, most popular books ever in the prop world. Yes, Nestor, I am very familiar. That was probably one of the first books that I read in 2007 when I first started thinking that I'm going to go into trading. So, yes, very familiar. Big truths in there, but also a very unique situation where he lost all of his own money and then had the opportunity to trade other people's money, but with increased objectivity that kind of brought him a lot of new calmness sensations and, new epiphanies that maybe otherwise he wouldn't have had if he hadn't been in the position of being a broker, right? So yeah, it's a good book and very, very popular. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Disruptive Panda says, I'm currently in the flow state.
There you go. Enjoy it. Enjoy it.
Yes, enjoy,
So yeah,
enjoy the flow state.
we can start if you want. So consciousness is not attention. We've spoken about attention a lot of time, but consciousness is not attention. Consciousness is, I mentioned this a lot of time. I don't believe any scientist or anybody in the world could give a proper definition of consciousness. And if they
Mhm.
do, I'm nobody to say it's right or wrong. It's my pure and humble opinion. Yet, many people would agree that on saying that consciousness is our perception of the external world. And in neuroscience and in psychology and in science in general, we know that attention is content, it's a skill, and consciousness is the container. It's like the thing that englobes the attention, the content. So you are not your breath, not your thoughts, you're the space they happen in, right? We go through everything that happens to us through these Neuro Wednesdays. And this is not abstract. You don't, it's not abstract stuff. It's a shift in orientation from identification to observation. We've done that many times, and today we'll go deeper in it. It's the example, and I took this example again. I am anxious. So I am anxious versus I have anxiety or I feel anxiety, or I am in pain or I feel pain or I have pain. That's different. And
Yeah.
notice your next thought now, for example. Notice your thought that's coming on, whatever. Perhaps you have a chart in front of you and you're like, oh, it's pumping, whatever thought it is. Observe yourself, observe the observer. That's the shift. You don't need to feel anything magic. That's a, a move, an execution you do mentally. And there's a huge, again, Coach Deeyana, as usual, please interrupt me whenever you want, please. So self-awareness is not state awareness. And we've mentioned a lot of time, we trade from state, right? We trade from state. We trade from who and how we feel on a tea time, on the present time. So when you say, I am anxious, you become the emotion without knowing it, perhaps. But when you say anxiety is here, you are observing it. And that's what we use in therapy. I use this every day with patients, not every day because I don't practice this exercise precisely every day, but you got the point. And that micro tiny distance, it re-enables the PFC that gets distorted by the insula, the limbic system, the emotional brain. Remember, the PFC, the prefrontal cortex, is the zone of your cognitive abilities, decision-making process, execution abilities. So you are back in choice, not hijack. And again, saying anxiety is here will not make it leave, but it will make you not identify to the emotion. And this will make a huge shift after. And you can say, this is happening and I am here with it. Because even if you are not with it, it's happening, right? Isn't it? So it's here.
Yeah. Absolutely. Acknowledging that you are going through an emotion almost makes it's kind of like when maybe not the best example, but when you have somebody who's an addict, addicted to something, either the alcohol or, some sort of substances or whatever, until they sort of admit to themselves that they have a problem, there could be no progress. Now, I would argue that in trading, we do get addicted to some of the dopamine rushes that the markets can give you. But if you then get yourself into trouble, you get yourself in drawdown, and then you're like, oh, I'm so afraid, I am anxious. Like you say, you almost identify with it. But if you just go, I'm feeling anxiety, that's not like your identity anymore. It's just an emotion that you're acknowledging, and you can then work through it, if I'm understanding this correctly.
Exactly. Completely.
Yeah.
Let's say, and we'll go through it today. If you put a trade on and it's instantly red, do you feel something in your stomach just thinking about it? Do you have a sort of hold? Do you have this feeling? Most of you
Well,
must have.
so
I even have
yeah,
it if I
yeah,
take
I even
Well,
have it now. Yeah, so it's always uncomfortable when it doesn't go your way immediately. But at the same time, after so many years, I know that most of my trades will suffer some drawdown before they go in my direction. But as long as the previous steps were there, that everything that I'm looking for, a level, price action around it, I'm okay with that. I know that some people are not. They're like, well, it's got to go right now. And I'm like, well, it's a slower reversal. It might range a bit before it goes, oh, I'm so uncomfortable, so uncomfortable. And I'm like, well, there's no need to be uncomfortable. But again, it's, I suppose, a level of comfort that you reach after seeing something play out over and over. And then some of the scary events become less scary.
Exactly. Thank you. So, how many of you, when they put a trade on and it's instantly red or quickly red, how many of you tell yourselves, I am losing, or this is a loss? And this is exactly the point. Whatever you're
Yeah.
telling yourself when the trade is not working your way, or when it's working your way, you rewrite this identity of self-awareness versus state awareness. Let me take the opposite example. Let's say you put a trade on, it's red, green, and then a bit green, like a couple tens of bucks or a couple hundreds, and you're like, yeah, I am afraid this goes back to red. So you take partials or total profits, and then the trade, fortunately, not for you, but runs deeper in profit, but you are not in. So what happens then? You have two choices. First, regulate. You either regulate the fact that you won and you did not satisfy your expectations, but then rewriting this event will help you be satisfied and have enough dopamine from this win. Or second, you are frustrated. What does that lead to? That might lead to FOMO or overtrading or oversizing, because you're like, oh yeah, it's running, it's going higher. Let's say you're long, it's pumping 10 points, you get out, it's pumping 10 points more, then 10 points more, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna get back in. It's gonna pump 50 points more. You get back in, it dumps 30 points, pull back. And then you're like, oh, it's gonna go back, and then it doesn't go back. There's a mean reversal, let's say, a plus, a flip, whatever, a breakout to the downside, and you're adding because your mind is messed up, right? Your mind is messed up. You wanna take back the trade you were not in,
Yeah.
because after the first trade you didn't regulate, and
Hmm.
regulation is very important.
Yeah, this is
So
what I dislike about trade people who do so many trades a day that they lose any sense of how to track the trades, because that's kind of how things happen with a slightly negative risk reward. If you do a lot of trading in a day, you're going to have moments where you're like, oh, it's going on a run, it's going on a run, it's going on a run. And then you take smaller bits and then you try another smaller bit. So that works. And then it runs massively in what should have been one trade, really. But then they go, okay, well, now I'm going to get in and hold it. And then they get in for long, it goes against them and wipes out all of the profits. And now they're on tilt. So this is where I don't like that idea of more trades, and more and more and more. Because you had a hypothesis, you should have stayed in on the entirety of the trade if there was no meaningful pullbacks, and it was just like, let's say, a breakout of the initial balance. It's like put it on the map as an actual strategy. And let's say that you were aiming for Globex VWAP, which was higher. So let's say we open a bit lower, so you're going for that mean reversion long, and it breaks out of that first hour of trading range, and then you take 10 points, but there's like 50 points available to VWAP. So you take your 10 points, it carries on, and you, like you say, Jerome, gonna get back in, gonna get back in. But then something happens and it reaches VWAP and your brain malfunctions, and then you go, okay, well, this is definitely going. And then it smacks you in the face. So it's like, whose fault is that? The markets, the traders, the VWAPs? Nobody's. It's just us not being objective enough, and not recognizing that maybe we shouldn't have grasshoppered in and out. I call it grasshoppering, because you're like constantly. You have a trending move, but you're trying to like take tiny bits and pieces from it. It's like, why are you making yourself work harder for something that the market has clearly given you? So I think there's something to be said about identifying the strategies where you do need to scalp, and then identifying the day where actually it's a mean reversion trade and this is going to go back to VWAP like in a flash. Therefore, you don't need many trades.
100%.
So there's definitely strategy, and then how do I manage myself? So there's two parts to that equation in nearly every situation.
100% agreed. Thank you for we could go deeper, but I
Yeah.
feel it's things we always explain and you always get into details. But yeah, there's a whole book of fundamentals to be a successful trader in it. So
Yeah. Trader
we
Ken says, D, why are you calling me out like that? That's funny.
so we've spoken about the DMN and the TPN. If
Yeah.
you guys remember, the DMN is the default mode network and the TPN is the task positive network. So basically the DMN englobes narratives from the past and the future and self narratives. And the TPN is more about the flow, so the alignment of inner skills that leads you to efficiency, focus, right now, present moment. Okay. So as explained previously, I think it was 2 weeks ago, if I'm not wrong, might be wrong here, you shouldn't be in DMN all the time and you shouldn't be in TPN all the time. You must not shouldn't, you must not. Because if you are in DMN all the time, it's a problem. If you are in TPN all the time, it's a problem as well. So you need to find the balance. It's like survival. If you have a lion in front of you, you should run. You should not be in that
Yeah.
positive network. So it's about this nuance. And mindfulness is like the steering wheel. It's not to silence DMN, but to stop living in it when you understand you should be living with the TPN.
Hmm.
And a quick reset before any action could be, am I doing the thing or thinking about the thing? Whatever you do, try to implement this tiny, we call it micro awareness thought. Am I doing the thing or thinking about the thing? There's no right or wrong answer, but asking yourself this is very powerful. And in
Mhm.
trading, for example, am I doing the thing or thinking about the thing is great as well, to take a moment, step back, objective. Okay, do I enter? No. Okay, I don't enter. And it saved me a lot of money personally.
Mm.
So we come to the micro awareness, what we call, we have a lot, but this one is hidden. It's a hidden superpower. So the thing is, you can implement big shifts right in on small noticing. So most people miss the moment right before the reaction, and we speak about it a lot. We mentioned window of reconciliation. Uh, you don't need control. You need early awareness.
Mhm.
So most people like, I can't control my stress, I can't control my anger, I can't you don't need to. Many
Yeah.
patients come to me and they're like, I can't control this when my wife does, but you don't need to. Why are you looking to control something you don't have control upon, first? And second, why are you going into this way that will not help you? You need early awareness. You have a stimuli, an event, and you have a reaction. You need to build with time. Nothing is magic. You're not going to be able to do it in a single day, perhaps. Uh, but between the stimulus, the event, and the reaction, you need to introduce an in between, a
Mhm.
moment, an awareness, a cognitive moment before the reaction. Let's say you have a road rage, somebody crosses you. Do you want to confront instantly? No, you want to put a moment before. You breathe, you stop. Okay, I don't need to confront this individual for whatever reasons he's hurt and blah blah blah. And that's it. And you can spot it. The click you almost made, the before hearing the order filled, you can feel it. Take a moment before. The sigh before frustration, like, can you put a micro awareness right before this moment? Before fixing, escape, or chasing. Let's say you have somebody's yelling at you, okay, whether it's a friend, a relative, or a stranger. Our first reaction, it's natural, we are humans, right, is to react,
To
right?
react, yeah.
So
Mhm.
somebody pushes you, you want to push them, right? It's natural. But we don't, we are not animals. Our brains are. But we can rewire it. We can rewire the reaction, putting awareness moments before. And that is observing the observer. That is meta awareness. That is taking a moment before leaving yourself to the moment. Basically, our reactions are a result of our automatisms, right? If you are used to insult, to fight, you will 99% of the time answer with insult and or physical violence with any confrontation you have. If you have been violented, for example, if you have been a victim of violence when you were younger, you might reproduce this model as well. And the opposite is true as well. If you grew up in fear, you might be a victim under any confrontation event. There's a lot of psychology behind it. So understanding this, understanding the moment, the objective moment of meta awareness, observing the observer, putting a moment before the reaction, will can and will change your day-to-day life. And we use this in therapy as well. And you just have to name it. That's enough. Naming it make you observing the observer, and then you can go further, you can go deeper. What do you think about it?
Yeah, I agree about the being in a challenging situation and then immediately reacting. That is something that I suffered from when I was actually younger, and it carried over into my trading. Interestingly, in the first probably the first 9 months, the first few times when I lost a trade, and I was like, oh, I need to get it back. So I found myself being in a situation where it's almost like you are fighting to stay alive, but there's no death threat. It's just a bit of money lost. So this is where I knew that I needed to change those parts of myself, because there was no place for me to get frustrated because I lost a trade. Does it feel great? No, nobody likes losing trades, but at the same time, it is the same as any other challenging situation. So when you train yourself to have a pause when a challenging situation appears, you will find that everything becomes a little easier. You're no longer adding fuel onto the fire, but rather stepping aside and just going, okay, let me just take a moment here and breathe and then decide what comes next. But it's very hard to do the first time around. Very hard to do, because it's almost like it's wired into your brain to react. Everybody does that. We are taught to do that. Oh, somebody pushes you, you want to slap him back, right? Or do something to defend yourself. But in trading, if you try and do that, you're going to have the worst outcomes, because the market slaps you, you can't slap it back. It doesn't know that you exist. So you can slap you can push your screen, your laptop, whatever. There's going to be a lot of damage that, again, is extra cost to you. The market just doesn't care. And once you get to that point where you realize that you are not really that relevant in the grand scheme of things, it kind of becomes a little easier not to react. It's like, oh, well, that didn't work. Oh, well, that didn't work. And, it doesn't matter what sort of a day it is. I know we have someone in the chat who is still struggling. I think it's still a combination of either too much size or even maybe not a good enough strategy or deep. And he takes us through the entirety of how this week went, and it's all to do with P&L. I did this, I lost the account, and I put a DLL. Like, there's nothing there, Hardeep, in your posts that is like, okay, this is how I felt after that. So you're not really dealing with the main issue of you reacting to the loss limit, then coming back the next day with that memory in your head and then trying to get it back. And I think you even say things like, oh, trade was at 2,000 profit, close the trade, break even. Like, it's all very P&L based. It's not reflecting on the inside what was happening to you and how you were behaving inside yourself when you were going through those P&Ls. So, you say things, I didn't take profits. So instead of going, oh, I didn't take profits, why? Why didn't you take profits? What happened? Was it too quick? Did you get biased in a trade? Like, that's the stuff that we need to get to the bottom of. Not, oh, I was up 500, then I lost 300, then I was up 2,000, and then I lost the entire account. There's deeper issues there that are not related to the P&L. They're related to the behavior of the trader.
100%. Thank you. This is gold.
Yeah.
Was it Hardeep? My
Hardeep,
best
yeah.
advice would be to re-listen to what Coach Deeyana just said. Take all your comments, listen, replay what Coach Deeyana just said, and dissect what you wrote in between. So you were up, then you were down. What happened in between? When you were up, as Coach Deeyana said, how did you feel? What were you thinking? What happened? And then the trade went red. What did you think? What happened? What things did you ask yourself? This is gold. Thank you, Coach Deeyana, for pointing these, because people, they take the stuff we share, but they focus on the technical stuff. They focus on the P&L, and they don't really get and it's very hard. I completely conceive it, and that is why we are here, and that is why you took these questions out. We are here to help you connect what's happening in your mind. We are all humans. Coach Deeyana has been trading for 15 years, 20 years. Perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps it's more. Sorry.
No, it's 18.
18. Well, 18. Sorry. So I've been only for 2, but I've studied psychology for nearly 10 years now, and it's only 10 years. I'm a baby, right? Compared to other people.
Yeah, but you have an edge that many other people don't, because of your knowledge about the psychology and the brain, how to control that's more valuable than any strategy. I always say levels are the easy part, right? Oh, here's a level. We look for a reversal or a breakout. That's it. What happens in our brains. That is the thing that's going to take everybody the longest. And actually, we have extra information from Hardeep. He says, I knew the reversal was happening, but didn't close the trade. I just wanted to catch a home run. So here we go. Jerome, do you think?
I mean, first, you didn't know the reversal was happening.
Yeah,
Because if you
nobody
knew, you
does.
would have closed the trade. And
Yeah,
second, you wanted to catch the home run. That's exactly what
yeah,
Coach Deeyana said. You were focused on the P&L, your
yeah.
intention, team, perception, intention, manner of acting. Your intention was to catch a bat home run. But that didn't happen. You went back to the locker room, brother. So
And then he also says, other thing, after I lose a trade, I always jump in trades too fast. Need to control that. Yeah, so here's an exercise for you, Hardeep. Next time you lose a trade, pause off the mouse, walk away, and come back half an hour later. So give yourself 30 minutes before you allow yourself to enter another trade. And I can promise you that if you give yourself that time, you will get to a point where you're like coming back after 30 minutes and you're like, yeah. I also like to tell my traders, if they're really struggling with a lot of emotions, to also go do a bit of weightlifting, because it very quickly releases the adrenaline, shuffles the stress into a physical activity. And, all of the stuff that you're describing, it's a result of fight or flight. So we either run from the lion or we fight the lion, right? But it's always to do with the adrenaline pumping in our system. So by giving it that like physical outlet, if you're physically able, it really leads just to a quick depletion of that fuel that fuels the fight or flight. It's not going to solve all your issues, but it's a good kind of stepping stone to emotional control in the long run. But yeah, so you say it yourself. This is now getting to the crux of the problem. We identified you wanted a home run. You jump into trades after losing one immediately. That's a pure fight or flight response. That has nothing to do with strategy. It's like, oh, I want to get it back. Click.
it's ego as well.
It's
And
ego.
I
Yeah,
want to add something that I noticed. Please allow me to
of
on
course.
myself. And I I decided to make over this mistake. I mean, I'm not reproducing this mistake, and I have not for a year now, I think. So the thing is, when you lose a trade, there could be several reasons, but let's say there are two. Okay, the first one, your entry and or your exit were poor quality, and that is likely as well. The second reason, and they are not mutually exclusive, by the way. The second reason is you were basically wrong, and it happens. So now, assuming these two reasons, when you lose, let's say you are likely to be wrong, okay? Whether your entry and or exits are poor quality, there's a high chance you are wrong until you are not anymore. But if you re-enter a trade, that is just dumb conviction, right? If you are wrong, you don't know if you're wrong yet, but you just want to prove yourself that you are not wrong. So you're like, no, it's gonna reverse. It's gonna reverse. I'm gonna get back in, and it's not reversing. And you're like, but it's gonna reverse. It has to touch the 200 EMA on the 5-minute time frame. It does this every time. So you get
Yeah.
back in, and it doesn't. But then it does 2 hours later, and you're like, oh, I knew it. No, you did not. You just
No.
let your emotions flow in. And Coach Deeyana, you said the exact solution. Put your hands out of the mouse, step back, step up, go take a walk, drink water, wash your face, do whatever for 5 minutes, and come back to the charts. And trust me, this is the problem of many people who do scalping. So when you scalp, your brain wants to find opportunities everywhere because you're a scalper. So you have a lot of opportunities. Remember, on a daily basis, there's, I think, 81 5-minute candles, and there's a lot of 1-minute candles. So there's a lot of opportunities for scalpers. Do you want to take all of them? No. Do you want to take high quality setups? Yes, most probably. But do you want to chain setups? No. If you take one setup and you lose, perhaps you can allow yourself to take a second one, but perhaps you can also allow yourself to be okay with this, whether you were wrong or your entries and or stops were poor qualities. That is an opportunity for you to reassess it, your setups, your entries, your strategies, etc. And then you come back 10 minutes later, half an hour, 1 hour, whatever. The market is still here. It's going to either slap you or welcome you. If you keep getting on the ring and jab while you just got knocked out, you're going to get knocked out again. That's the most likely event, right? I mean, you get knocked out, you stand up and like, oh, I'm going to fight again. No, you go to a corner and you wait, or you go back to training.
Go to a corner, you chill out, and then you come back. Yeah,
exactly. So
I love that. It's a good analogy. Yeah, you get smacked in the face, then you go and chill. You don't come back and do it again because you're going to get smacked in the face again. Lovely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So one of the most powerful tool, and we always mention it, is breath. Breath is a disruptor. It's the fastest mind structural disruptor that we have. Okay, we have a lot of them, but breath is the fastest and most efficient. Forget technique. Whoever is selling you any technique, forget about it. I'm not saying it's BS, or I'm not saying it's bad or wrong. I'm saying use breath as an interrupter. Use all the exercises we did, go back through the replays, and trust me, this is gonna, your breath is worth all the money in the world. You just need to focus on it. One full exhale changes your chemistry, not for calm, but for clarity. It's not magic. One exhale, you will release more carbon dioxide than usual. You will put inflow more oxygen than usual. It's not going to be necessarily magic, but when you repeat it, it's going to be magic. So you can use it just before a click. Oh, I'm going to enter. Okay, let me check my body. Okay, I'm not going to enter here. After a micro shock, for example, road rage, confrontation, insult, violence, whatever, perhaps frustration. When you feel urgency spike, you're like FOMO, for example. Oh, I want a FOMO. Today is FOMC versus speculation. 99.99% the Fed is going to cut rates. I'm going to get long. And you take a breath. You take a breath. You're like, okay, do we have FOMC once a year? No. Do I need to blow my accounts today? No. Do I want to blow my accounts today? No. Do I need to trade today? No. I mean, go through these questions, and only if you allow yourself to trade, accept the consequences, but follow your plan. Less tool, more signal. Follow your plan. And by following your plan and doing these attention moments, you will rewire reactivity. And we've been through rewiring memories. Okay, we use this in therapy. And reactivity is a survival reflex. Again, remember, you have a stimulus, you have a reaction. The impulse it's survival. It's automatic. You put awareness moment before the reaction, and awareness can recode it. Say what you feel, not to justify it, but to integrate. You're alone. Nobody's going to listen to you. Nobody's going to judge you. Each and every time you name instead of acting, you strengthen cortical override. And that is, sorry, typo, that is structural change. Okay, you name it. And we're going to go through it later. So between, I call it the sacred gap. Okay, so that's the window, the gap between impulse and action, between stimulus and reaction. There is a window, a pause. And inside this moment is freedom. Very small moment, but it is freedom. And most people miss it. And when I say most people, I am human. I experience this every day. My goal is to catch this gap as much as possible. My goal is to be aware, to be present in this gap as much as possible. And mindfulness stretches it because you observe the observer. You observe your reaction. When I'm about to crash out, I know I'm about to crash out, but I don't. I step back inside. I observe myself. I breathe, and I take advantage of this gap. And I do it in trading as well. So what belongs in the gap? A question. Am I doing the thing, or am I thinking about doing the thing? A breath. Step back, breathe. A pause that rewires what comes next. Perhaps you don't question yourself. Perhaps you will breathe unconsciously, but you will pause. And this pause perhaps will not change the action you were about to do, but it will change what's happening here. And perhaps on the second or third time, you will grasp a difference. Perhaps not in trading, but in your daily life. Yeah,
I
go ahead.
agree with this, and I would like to add what's worked for some of my students, how to actually stop yourself from the next Muppet moment, so to speak, despite you doing the breath and everything, because some people still go back to the chart and they're like, I'm going to try it again. It's like, don't do that. So what I asked them to do is to actually write things out on either the chart, or type it out in Word or something. What do you need to see next on the chart in order to actually have proof that your trade setup has appeared? That's worked exquisitely well, to name it, externalize it, and then you have a clear plan in front of your eyes rather than being up in your head. So let's say you're looking for a failed auction. For example, we've got platinum now. Platinum, I've been kind of stalking this short, and platinum still stalking it. And what would I need to see for platinum to actually do something? Now I'm gonna just share my chart here for a second. Share screen. And it's gonna be my other one, because there's a clear thing. So what do I need to, let's say, this is kind of going up and up and up. I'm looking for a short. What do I need to see in order to validate this trade? Well, first and foremost, I need to see it back inside the initial balance, right? I need to see it back in this red box. That's the initial balance. Second, I need a very strong candle without these annoying buying wicks, because that's passive buying, passive buying, passive buying. Whoever sells it, somebody comes in and buys it. So that needs to go away. How does that look? It looks as a Maribozu that breaks the low of the previous candle to unequivocally close below it and stay below it. That way, you're no longer going, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. No, you're just kind of naming the setup and exact conditions that you need to see in order to get involved again. Does that make sense? So when you write them out, let's say you write them out. So what do you need to see? I need to see.
This is professional trading, ladies and gentlemen.
So let's say 15-minute back inside IB. So that would be one, right? Second condition would be no buying wicks. So it needs to be closer to Maribozu. So unequivocal break of this structure. What else what do I not want to see? Well, I don't want to see it back even if I'm in a trade. I do not want to see it go outside of IB again. So if it, even if there's a Maribozu, there's, engulfing or whatever, we fall back into initial balance, but they push it back outside of it. That's an invalidation. So invalid. That means cut your trade early. Don't sit in it and just go, oh, please, oh, please, oh, please. It's like, just stop doing that. So try this approach as well as Jerome's approach. So do the breath, do the awareness, try to unglue yourself from the screen. But when you come back to it, literally define it to death of what you need to see. Don't allow it to take you on its own journey and just go, whoa, let's just keep clicking buttons until we lose the accounts. No, let's just stop. And then use the systematic approach with the self-awareness to get you to where you need to be. All right, I'm going to go back to your slides now.
Thank you very much for that. That is perfect. That is professional trading. Professional traders, they expect something from price action to happen or not to happen, so we can enter or stay on the back, stay on the line, on the side. And that is something I've seen this week on X and people speaking about it. That's the main difference between profitable traders, professional ones, and unprofitable ones, unprofessional ones. Unprofessional ones are like, yeah, on the 1 minute time frame, the 200 EMA has been broken and now it needs to be reclaimed. But have you watched the 15, 30 minute, 1 hour, 4 hour daily candles? Perhaps it's just a pullback on a higher time frame support, and now it's going to bounce, you know? So yeah, it's very important to have this way of expecting, not expecting, but thinking about what could happen next and what do you need with your setup, with your strategy, so you can enter the trade. People like to preempt trade. I'm not saying preempting is good or bad. Just understand that when you preempt, you drastically reduce the probability of success of your trade. Of course, you increase the risk reward, but this is up to you. Check how many times, let's say you take 100 preempted trades. How many times do you win? How many times do you lose? And compared to the
Oh, Jerome, you still with us? I think we may have lost Jerome there for a second. Yep. All right. So, in the meantime, while Jerome comes back to us, listen to what he's saying, right? So, it's always difficult to stop yourself in the moment, but the more coping mechanisms and the more ideas that you have, to know how to enter a trade systematically, it's definitely going to be a lot better. Okay, so we've got Jerome back. There you are.
Yeah, I'm sorry. For the people who are in France, SFR is one of our internet carriers, and it's been problematic for the whole week, constant disconnections. So I have this provider,
okay.
and I kept
take a breath.
Disconnected.
Don't worry,
So
it's all good. Let's breathe.
I turned on my shared connection, which is not with this provider, so it should go there. So sorry about that.
That's okay. Don't worry. But we're all here. We were all patiently waiting. Yeah. So no problem at all. Let's get back. Oops. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Go.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I clicked. My bad.
No, it's all right. It's all good. Yes. So let's carry on. Everybody breathe and relax.
Perfect. Yes. So control versus positioning. So, and thank you for making everybody take a breath while I come back. Control is a myth. Okay. I hate people. I hate people who vouch for controlling things, because controlling implies somehow that what's coming is not welcomed, or what's coming should not come this way, or should not come in this structure, you know? But I don't resonate with it. I resonate with the fact that whatever comes, we need it, and we need to process it, to reflect on it. So you need to be present, not to be a victim, right? So
yeah,
the nervous system, it craves for prediction. Remember, we spent half of a whole session explaining how the brain creates patterns and looks for patterns, but life will not cooperate. Sometimes you see patterns in life, but they won't match your expectations. So you got to shift the goal. Instead of how do I control this? For example, your life is a mess. You feel it's a mess. It's perhaps not a mess, but you feel it's a mess. You're not achieving anything. You have things everywhere, and you're like, how do I control this? And if you think about how you can control it, you will never find an answer, because there's no answer. There's no right answer to how you control something. You got to deal with things, right? You got to get things done or not. So how can I meet with this alignment? Like, let's say in trading, you're always revenge trading, always FOMO trading, always oversizing. You're always repeating a mistake. And how many of you ask yourself, how do I control this? How do I stop doing this? But you can ask yourself this 1 million times, and you will keep asking yourself this question because you will not find the answer. What you need to ask yourself and what you need to seek for is how you can align with yourself, whatever it is, because you are the one clicking on the mouse.
Yeah.
Remember, we are not here to hold your hand. If you have two arms, you are able to do so. And if you're not, you have your brain. So your internal positioning matters more than your external grip. Remember, to move my finger, I got to give it a signal, right? Unless it's pathological. So unless you have a pathology that makes you click and order filled every time, then you make the deliberate choice of clicking, right? But this comes from an internal positioning, and the external grip is the click. The
Mm.
consequence of it is order filled. You entered the trade. But what happened inside before is what gave your arm the signal to click. So it's very important to in my sense, to understand this nuance. Yet I don't know if the nuance is well expressed. What do you think about it, Coach Deanna?
I think the nuance is very well expressed. So I think most of us go into trading thinking that it's going to be easy. Very quickly, we realize that's not the case. And then the trouble begins, the real journey of you finding out quite possibly the worst things about your own character that you probably weren't even aware were there before, suddenly arise as center stage actors in how your P&L is looking that day, which is, it can be very um, difficult to deal with because nobody likes to admit that we've got bad habits. We all think we're perfect, right? And some of the behaviors that work well in other businesses, they just don't work in trading. Like, for example, take very successful business people. The way they usually get there is to push and push and push and do more calls and more meetings and, more work and longer hours. You try and do that in trading, you're not going to get anywhere. You're going to blow up accounts. You're going to lose a bunch of cash. So more is not always better. But at the same time, like you said, we have no control over anything in trading. We are such small players in the big pool of institutional traders who trade ludicrously large positions. We've seen those orders that pop up on NQ, 1,500. That's so much cash that it's like you can't even fathom it, right? It's like billions. And we don't move the market. So as soon as you get to a point where you understand that control is truly an illusion and that you have no control, like Hardeep mentioned, oh, I knew reversal was coming. That's great, but we cannot ever be sure of that, because I can be sure that a reversal is coming in platinum as well, but I don't know whether it's going to happen today, tomorrow, 2 weeks from now, because I'm basing this on like a monthly chart. It could happen in July. I don't know when it's going to happen. It's a huge doubt. Do I know it's happened? It will happen? No, but I have an inkling based on the probabilities that I've seen such setups happen before. Is it a given? Is it definitely going to happen? No, it can go into a brand new trend because something's changed. We never know. And the faster you kind of get to that point where you're like, I don't know anything, I don't know what's going to happen today, you're going to be in a much better place. It will also open the doors for you to stay a lot more objective as a trader rather than thinking you know something. And I can tell you this after 18 years of doing this, nobody knows squat. No one knows what's going to happen. We can read the price action and order flow to get a decent idea of what's happening. And if that happens to match one of our hypotheses around that particular level, then you've got something. And I would argue that's presence, objectivity and presence. Would you agree with that, Jerome? Or
Completely. And I want to bounce on something Trader Kane just said. He said, "But I know the sun will come up tomorrow. Can I trade that?" That is a perfect question. You know the market is going to be open tomorrow. Not tomorrow, actually, but you got the
Not
point.
tomorrow. Yeah,
But
anything
the
happen.
market is gonna be open tomorrow. But do you know if you're gonna win? No. You know
No.
the sun will come up tomorrow, but do you know if it's gonna be cloudy? No, you don't. So you cannot bet on the sun coming up. You can bet on the day being shiny, but you
Yeah.
don't know that. You have it's all about faith as well. I mentioned that during a mindset session we did on Topstep TV during fast markets that's been replayed. So when we drive, we have faith that when you are at the light and the light becomes green, you have faith, strong faith, that all the other people who are at the red light will stop and let you cross, right? That is social faith. And so you have faith, faith points like that in life. So you have faith that the market will open and the Nasdaq will move, but you don't know when it's going to move up, when it's going to move down, and how many points, how much is going to be is the move going to be,
Yeah.
right? So as you said, on a higher time frame a mean reversal is coming. You just don't know when, and you don't know if it's going to try, fake out, bounce, and then do the move, like a week half reversal. Like, so many things can happen. So
Too many
yeah,
variables. Yeah.
so many variables.
Yeah. Hmm. And I think that's a problem in trading as well, that people don't realize that everything you change in your strategy is a variable. It's like if you were coding something and you have a variable for every single part of it, whether it's price action, whether it's a level, whether it's your own behavior, whether it's time of day. You can go nuts on that. But there's like even more things inside the actual trade: position size, stop loss size, target. Is the target achievable, or is it too ambitious? Is the target too small and statistically maybe not viable within the accuracy of the system you're trading, or how you've been executing your system? All of those, they're all separate variables. How many trades you do in a day? Do you do 1, 10, 3, 100? Each of that is its own variable, and it will massively impact your results. Massively. I'm not sure that people are like, oh yeah, I'd trade 3 micros and then I'm going to trade 15 and then I'm going to trade 10. Based on what? Or, stop loss. What's the stop loss size? I always use 30 ticks. I was like, okay, what if volatility goes nuts again? Are you still going to use 30 ticks? Yes. How does that work? That's not a volatility adjusted stop. So now you're using a variable in a set of conditions where everything else has changed, but you haven't adapted. That's a problem as well. Like so many things when I hear people talk about trading, where I just think to myself, if we all could be just a little bit more robotic in and maybe more into like the binary thinking processes rather than having all this garbage in between, we would all be so much better off. But to get there, it's so difficult at the same time. It's like such a big journey of self-discovery, and this is exactly why we wanted to do these, to try and help with that.
Exactly. Thank you. So your narrative isn't reality. Your narrative isn't truth. It's your truth, perhaps, but it's not the truth. Uh, your brain does not store facts. It stores memories, rehearsals, remember, and we use it in therapy as well. You can't rewrite what happened, but you can
Mhm.
rewrite your emotional attachment to it, your emotional connection to it, your reactivity to it. So I always mess up is not truth. It's the story you repeat to yourself. It's familiarity. And repetition becomes familiarity. Familiarity then becomes identity. But when it becomes your identity, that is way harder to work on rather than before. Because you get grounded, anchored with this mindset. Let's say you've been trading for 6 months, a year, 2 years, whatever, and you keep repeating this to yourself. Then guess what? You will have a hard time to succeed in trading because you will not be able to break the loop. You created a loop, basically. The loop is I wait for my salary to hit my bank account. when I have money, I buy challenges. I do mistakes because I always mess up. Then I wait for my paycheck. Then I buy account. Then I passed the challenge. Wow. Then it's done. Oh, I blew the funded account in 2 days. Then I wait for my paycheck, and you repeat the loop. But once the loop is strong enough, it becomes very hard to break it. So to break the loop, you notice the script. You notice the loop, name the state, build awareness around it. And then once you know like what the loop is, you know what its rhythm is. So to take back my example, paycheck, evals, blowing, paycheck, evals, blow, etc. So change the rhythm, okay? Perhaps don't change paycheck to evals, but change the path from evals to blowing. Instead of blowing your accounts in a single day, try to maintain them for 2 weeks at least, and then increase. Don't put strong objectives, strong goals, or I'm not advising to put goals, even though goals is a great thing to do, but sometimes it doesn't help people, so that's another topic.
I
But yeah,
agree.
don't put hard goals. Don't put hard goals. You are not successful, so why do you want to put yourself, why do you want to put more pressure on yourself that you have? You are doing something for yourself, for your future, for your family, perhaps. So you are motivated and you are courageous. I will vouch for anybody on earth that wants to trade, because it's one of the most difficult professional activity in the world. And
Yeah.
I studied almost 10 years and medicine. I'm telling you that. But it's one of the most beautiful activity that can and will change your life once you get serious on it. Like if you want to get motivated, we can speak about motivation during 2 hours. But remember why you do this. Remember who you do this for. Do you do this for your parents? Do you do this for your future? Do you do this for your education? Do you do this for your children? Do you do this for your future children? Do you do this for charity? Do you do this for your personal friends, your relatives? Do you do this for no reasons? Perhaps it's fulfillment. There's a lot of reasons you want to do this. Find your why. Find your why. Define your why. And every time you have a breakdown, every time you are down, every time your mental is down, remember why you do it. Put a picture. Why you do it? Do you do it for yourself? Do you do it for money? Do you do it for your mom? Do you do it for your dad who is sick and you need health and he needs healthcare? Do you do it to pay for the tuition of your brother? I paid for the med school of my brother last year, and I paid for the expenses of my parents thanks to Topstep. Like trading
Amazing.
changed my life, but I had a why. There's so many things I achieved and I don't flex on it because I don't need to. I trade for myself. I don't trade for YouTube. I don't trade for people. I trade to fill up the fridge. I trade to bring food
Yeah.
on the table. I trade to pay bills. I mean, of course, it's not my main source of income, but you need to find your why. I don't trade for money. I trade for something. The money is a byproduct of the process. But guess what? I invested 5 figures of my own self-earned money before earning a single dime from trading. I quit 4 times before being successful. I not quit. I did breaks. I didn't quit. I did some breaks, right? I mentioned many times. But people are afraid to take breaks. They're afraid that the market will go somewhere else. The market will stay on trading too. It will
Yeah,
stay
I,
on
I
trading
always
too.
say to people, the markets have been here for 300 years in some shape or form, right? They're not going anywhere. All of us would be long gone and the market would still be happening unless we have some kind of a semi-apocalypse or an apocalypse happening. But generally, markets will be there, right? Opportunities, especially intraday traders, I can kind of understand from the point of view of an investor, all right, we've had a dip in equities, very serious dip. Right, now it's time to buy. But intraday trading is all about finding mismatched opportunities every single day. And sometimes even multiple times per day, right? Multiple times per session, even. Um, there would be no shortage of opportunities. There's always a way to make something work in the markets as an intraday trader. That's the beauty of being intraday. You don't have to wait for 2 months or 2 years for your setup to occur. Um, but that's something we again have to work on inside of ourselves. You can't be okay with that. You just have to say, right, I will take a day off, I will take the whole week off, and I will come back with fresh eyes. And whilst you're learning, now Jerome, correct me if I'm wrong, but my experience with learning anything new is that once you learn something new, you need to give it time to sort of settle into the new neural network, so to speak, because you create new pathways then need time to connect to your long-term memory. Am I right
I
on
mean,
this?
yeah, if you start me on this edge, we are cooked because we got lessons
Be
at
here all
uni
day.
about how do we learn. Like the topic of the lesson was how do we learn. So if you want, I can prepare something about that last next week.
Yes,
The
please.
process of
Yeah.
learning,
Yeah.
and it's exactly what you mentioned. Exactly.
Yeah, so this is the thing that people want to rush the process. There's no rushing. There is a physical timeline where your brain just takes time to connect these things into your from short-term memory and then to commit them to the long-term memory. I think it will be a good topic for next week for sure. All right.
Perfect.
Yeah. How are we doing for time? All right, so we've got probably another, let's say another 15 minutes or so.
Perfect. So, uh, neuroplasticity is emotional. Okay, the change doesn't start with knowing, it starts with feeling while doing something different. So, visualization is a tool we use a lot. Yes, because the brain codes imagery like reality. Remember, the brain does not make the difference between fiction and reality. So, the real key is repetition under emotional charge. Of course, it's hard to step back to neutrality when you're emotional, of course, but that is how you get stronger. So, you can journal after emotional moments, you can move while doing visualization or mental imagery. You can pair with action with new intention. But just remember repetition wires, okay? And emotion, it seals. Emotion will seal it. You won't be able to work upon it anymore, or it's going to be harder. You will be able, but it's going to be harder. So feelings, do not start in the mind. They land in the body. That's why mindfulness is very important because it gives you the opportunity to understand, to listen, and it's very hard what's happening. So the insula, the limbic brain, maps your interior, your tension, your contraction, your release, everything. So the more body awareness you have, the better timing, sharper decisions you get. So try this body scan. Where is the tightness? How am I feeling in my chest, in my neck, in my arms, in my legs, my butt, my back, my mind? Clarity often follows sensation. Okay. So if you are not focused on the sensation, clarity will likely not follow it. So you can't say, I am calm. And that is, if you gotta remember one slide, please remember this one. There's a huge difference between positive mental attitude and what society calls law of attraction or positive self talk. Okay, and I can spend hours speaking about both are very meaningful to me, but there is a huge gap between both. So you can say I am calm, you can say I am a profitable trader, you can say I am patient, you can say I am great, you can say whatever you want, but if your system is braced, if your system is biased, people feel that first. Like if inside your biology is not ready, of course the self-talk will help. Of course, we've been through that, but you got to think about your biology as well. So your baseline state will always overcome your verbal state, verbal strategy. So don't necessarily ask what do I think, but rather what my system doing, how do I feel, not what do I think, how do I feel. That's a difference. What do I think is what's happening here, how do I feel is what's happening below. So a tense baseline makes everything feel like threat. If you have tension at work, personal life, whatever, you will be irritated. right? You will get easily triggered, and your nervous system is the real like link to your inner state. You and only you can understand what state you are in. I mean, if you are in front of me and you get tilted fast, I will understand your state, but I gotta interact with you. But without interacting with anybody, you and only you can understand that. So if you want to interrupt, please do so. So every moment trains something. So neuroplasticity does not wait for a plan. It follows repetition, repetition, repetition. What am I training right now? Reactivity or regulation? Overthinking or observation? You are not trying to be perfect. You are becoming intentional, one decision at a time. So for the course side, it's going to be good for the day. So Barry, thanks you for the day. I hope it was content that was helpful. If you have any questions or want to bounce or any topic, please do so. And if we want to take time, 5 to 10 minutes, I have small, tiny exercises, as I mentioned, that are connected to these topics. So if you want, we can follow through.
Brilliant. I've just taken a screenshot of this. What am I training right now? Reactivity or regulation, overthinking or observation. I'm actually going to put that up on my wall because I think that's amazing. It's like whenever you're like, oh, setup, 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 and you're like, no, actually, what am I training right now? So I want to have that in front of my eyes at all times. So I might even put it behind the camera on this wall so that I can like look at it every single day. So thank you for that. That's very, very helpful. Yeah, let's take some questions and then we can do the exercises. So hit us up,
It's gonna be
guys.
very fast, huh? Rest assured.
Yeah. Let me just see if my chat is working properly. Where is it? Here we go. Pop out. All right, let's see what the chat has been doing. I haven't been following for a little while. So many come back every week. Thinking they will do the one to do so. Okay. Don't know. Hold on. I've got to see what the chat was doing because I think there's a whole bunch of conversations happening in chat.
I didn't follow it, honest. If you want,
Yeah.
we can go to the exercise if there's no questions. Perhaps Bruno has some.
Yeah, like Sandy says, smash them thumbies. They are free.
Yeah, hit the
I
like
like that.
button, but the like
Hit the
button, not
like
the heart
button.
button.
Yes. We
Hit the thumb
appreciate the
once, just
heart.
once, because we
Yeah.
dislike them.
Yeah. So
And
you
like.
have to only caress the thumbs up button once. Yeah, definitely. Alexander is saying he does. I do this for stray animals. I want to build an animal sanctuary. That's amazing. That's his why. That's his why. Part of my profit will go to international animal preservation projects. That's amazing. I like that. You see, that's kind of like thinking outside of yourself. What is your why? Well, you do it because you want to help animals. I can get behind that. I'm a huge, huge animal lover.
Are you really? with,
Yeah.
with 8 doggies? I didn't think so.
Yeah, nah, yeah, they're just there, Yeah, our first boy was a rescue pup, so he
Wow.
was a bit messed up. It took him many years to actually get normal again, and even then, was he ever really normal? I'm not sure, but he was very loving, very loyal. So that's a very,
That's
very
good.
good
You
good
are so
goal
kind.
to have in life. I also like to say with the goals, if you do think about setting goals, I'm not in favor of immeasurable goals nor P&L based goals. But if you want to say something like it starts small. If you have big problems with trading, start small. So let's say tomorrow I will stick to only 3 trades. Doesn't matter what happens in them. Win, lose, doesn't matter. Train yourself to stop after whatever you've assigned yourself as a measurable goal. And don't go, I'm going to do that for the next 2 months. No, just tomorrow. Start small. Tomorrow, I will stop at 3. And then tomorrow, if you don't stop at 3, repeat that again the next day. Okay, yesterday I failed. Let me see if I can do it today. So keep that going until you rein your brain in to actually do what you wanted to do. Bruno has a question. He says he's noticed as soon as I start thinking, okay, I get it now, I know how to trade, then it's like I lose all my skills for days until I refocus on myself. Can we stop feeling confident in trading? Yeah, I mean, anytime you start feeling, yeah, I've got this, the market's going to find a way to tell you that, nah, you really don't. It's all just a matter of large sample size, making sure that the probabilities and risk are reasonably in control, and then just letting the numbers work for you. That's what I found. Every time I start to think, because some people would say, oh, yeah, do you have like so much skill and so much knowledge and you can find these amazing trades? Yeah, but there are days when the market is like, when I was with Anne-Marie on Lunchbox Trading, it was one of those things where it's like, sometimes you're in a trade, the market does something, and you're like, what the like, what was that? And I still have those moments to this day. I still have those moments. You enter a trade, you think you've got it all worked out, and you're like, really? Really? So, Bruno, I would say don't think that you'll ever crack it. Just do the best that you can. I mean, you can gather a lot of knowledge, but it doesn't mean that someday you're going to wake up and you'll be like, I am the wizard. Because as soon as you start thinking that, I assure you the market will find a way to tell you you're not the wizard.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you. And thank you, Bruno, for asking. And I vouch for what Coach Deeyana said. I would add that you should not stop feeling confident in your system, yet you should not feel confident in yourself. Because once you feel confident, I mean, more than usual confident in yourself, that's when ego takes over rational logic. Because you're like, oh yeah, I'm the best at it. And that's when the market humbles you. But if you have your system, you spend and earn, you spend and earn, you spend and earn. Then you know what your system is about. So whether you win, whether you lose, whether you think you got it or not, and as Coach Deeyana said, every time you're gonna think you got it, the market is gonna humble you in the best way and fastest ways. So my best advice would be try to dissociate from setup versus ego. You follow your setup and you're perfect at it. Sometimes we are humans. I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't have ego sparks. The thing is, when you feel these ego traps, we call it ego traps in neurosciences, then you have the ability to shift them. To be like, okay, ego, I get you, you're barking, sit down, make less noise, and then you go ahead.
You're
It's
barking. Love that. Ego, you're barking. Sit down.
That's what I say to my annoying self. I'm like,
Oh,
okay,
that's
I hear
great.
you
I love
barking.
that.
I'll sit down. Let's have a tea, and
Yeah.
that's how
Yeah,
I
have a
calm down.
biscuit. Yeah.
Exactly.
Different type of reward.
Yeah. So now, if you want, if unless we have questions, we can do a couple exercises.
Yeah, let's do it.
Very few. The first one is very fast. It's a switch between DMN and TPN, so between default mode and task positive network. Okay. So what I'm gonna ask you now is to feel. So the purpose is to feel the shift from thinking about the task to being in the task. So I'm gonna ask everybody who is listening to pick up an object, whether it's a pen, your phone, or even your hand. You can pick your hand. Harder, but whatever. And for 20 seconds, just look at it. Just look at it and think about it. Let your mind like wander. Perhaps, where did I get this? Or I don't really like it. Or oh, there's some ink here. Or oh, this is written there. Like it reminds me of this. Like let your mind wander, and do it. Just watch the object. And then once you've done that for like 20, 30 seconds, I'm gonna instruct you to switch now. So for 30, 45 seconds, I want you now to feel the object. I want you to feel its texture. I want you to feel its weight. I want you to feel its temperature. Is it heavy? Is it light? Is it itchy? Is it smooth? Is it cold? Is it hot? Is it neutral? No story, just direct experience. Perhaps when you touch some place, it's doing something else. Perhaps you can have some engraving on the pen, and when you put your finger on it, you can feel the shift. So if you have been able to do this very quick small exercise, you can ask yourself, that's what we call the debrief, what changed when you dropped the narrative and entered pure perception? And that is the question you got to reflect on. And we do this with what we call mindfulness eating. So you take usually it's a grape. You take a dry grape and you watch it, and then you put it on your mouth, and before eating it you feel it. And that's if you type it on Google, on YouTube, you put uh, um, raisin, mindfulness based stress reduction, John Kabat-Zinn, and you put dried fruit exercise, and you can have it. And so that's a very quick switch between DMN and TPN, between thinking and feeling. It's very, very, very simple. You take your phone, you're like, okay, it's weight, it's quite heavy, the texture of my phone is hot because it's hot and it's working, right? So no story, just direct experience, and it's doing some things, sensory speaking. So now I'm going to do something with you, Coach Deeyana. I'm sorry. It might be funny, but I want to do what we call a cognitive load. If we had other people, I would have been very happy to do this with them. There's no shame, but it might be funny, okay?
All right.
It
Yeah, I'll
looks
be the
like
guinea pig.
it looks like a bit like the Stroop test we did one day. You remember the
Okay.
brain
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
can't like multitask. So it's like mind fragmentation versus focused presence, focused attention. So multitasking feels efficient, right? Wow, I can do multiple things at a time, but it's not. Trust me, it's not. So what I want to do, and if you are watching here, you can test it, but you're gonna laugh alone, and we're gonna all laugh together in concert. So please spell the word neuroplasticity aloud. Neuroplasticity.
What, you want me to spell it?
Yes, please.
Okay. Neuroplasticity. Hopefully,
Perfect. Thank you
yeah.
very much. Yeah, yeah,
English is
it's
not
good.
my
You
first
know how to
language, by
write.
the way.
You know how to write. Now I want you to do it again, please. But mentally, I want you to count backward from 30 by twos. So 30, 28, 29.
What
And
are you
I
doing to
want
me?
you to spell neuroplasticity aloud, please.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, that's I should have had caffeine for this, Jerome. This is my first. You didn't tell me we were going to be doing this. Okay, so let's try that.
No, it's okay. The exercise is done. So the goal is just to show that, I mean, you can do it, but it's the more you split your attention, the
Oh
less
yeah, it's
efficient
terrible.
and
Yeah.
less aware you become.
So
Presence.
let's try it. Let's try it. Let's try it. Okay,
Okay, go
so
ahead.
N E U R O.
And
Yeah,
it's very
that's
hard, right?
difficult, man.
Very
Yeah,
hard.
because and it's not just counting, but counting backwards as well. It's like it totally messes up everything. It's messed up everything. Like I can barely speak. I couldn't even see it because I
Sorry.
have visual memory, and I could see the words, but then there's these like numbers here that I'm also thinking about, and then I kept popping. I kept having the numbers pop in on this side, but then there's the word here, and I'm like, well, which one do I choose? And I was like, oh, where was I? Was it 27 or was it you or was it? And then I just totally lost the sight of the word. It was hilarious. Wow. Okay. So don't
Midnight
multitask
Life
when
puts
trying to
like all
trade.
the letters scrambled. That's that's
I could see
hilarious.
the letters, but it in the beginning I could just about like for the first sort of three letters I kind of thought I had it, and then I just lost it, and then I couldn't even see the word anymore. That was it. It's yeah. Because I thought I was okay at multitasking because I could do all of this and still do some reasonable trading, but clearly
Thank
not.
you for playing the game. Thank you. Let's do the last one. That's gonna be helpful. It's not with you. I'm not gonna guinea pig you again. And
Okay.
that's something that could help you uh, rewires emotional truth through like audits. So I want you, all of you, to think of a moment that still holds emotional charge, whether it's about trading, whether it's personal, whether it's professional, related to health, related to whatever. Okay. Think of a moment that still holds emotional charge. And I want you to ask yourself, what did this moment teach me emotionally that wasn't true? What did this moment teach me emotionally that wasn't true? That could be I'm not safe. That could be I am alone. That could be I always mess it up. That could be I regret not doing this. Whatever it is, let your mind let your mind wander. Let your mind flow these thoughts. Okay. And now name a truth. I want you to name a truth you are ready to believe instead, but a real truth, not a verbal truth, like we mentioned before. I'm going to give you an example. Old situation, new situation. Old situation, I need to prove I am good enough. Okay, old situation, I need to prove I am good enough. New situation, example, I am building trust, not proving worth. But this is a truth, right? This is different, but this is a truth. And your brain will always, always, always rewire through felt truth, not just thoughts. And that was the topic before with verbal affirmations, right? You need to feel the truth. If you just feel the thoughts or think the thoughts, nothing is gonna happen, almost nothing. So this little exercise, if you take the habit of doing it, this can literally change your way of hooking yourself with truths and identifying yourself to truths or not. So hope this one has been helpful as well. There's a lot of other ones, but we'll go through them, sorry, next week. So have you been
Lovely.
surprised? I mean, we didn't do a lot of exercise, but I was supposed to ask like which exercise surprised you the most? What did you feel in your body while doing them? And which one will take you into your week?
Hmm. Yeah. I think that we should all have a routine in the morning of tackling, excuse me, Christ, my voice is giving up, of tackling some of the bigger issues that you're facing. It could be an ego thing, like you said, ego barking. So let's calm it down. Or maybe being too unfocused because so many other things are happening around you. I think that's going to be individual for any trader. And that includes maybe some psychological traumas that we picked up along the way. Maybe some people blew up an account early on, and that's still with them to this day, even though it might not be true, but it's affecting their future decisions. So I think that everybody has to identify what that is for them. Would you agree with me, or would you just treat most people with kind of the same way? I mean, I can imagine no, but
Yeah, you imagined well. The first step is awareness. We mentioned every time. So awareness implies identifying. So yeah, if you don't know who you are, how are you supposed to efficiently go forward? It's like any activity, right? You know, you need to know your strength, your weaknesses, how you react through tilt. Do you react well? Do you not react well? How do you react after winning, after losing, after missing a move? Like, it's very personal. Trading is very personal. Whatever happens in our personal lives impacts directly or indirectly, but most
so
of the time directly. Yeah, go ahead.
so should we give them a homework then to maybe go through all of their fears and insecurities and then also their strengths to maybe prepare themselves for the coming weeks. Maybe that could be like a neuroscience homework for
100%.
everyone. Yeah?
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. See, Trader Ken says, I am a profitable trader. Who am I? The affirmations, the affirmations can be helpful, but I just feel like saying things like, I am a profitable trader, but when that's not yet true, I'm just afraid that your brain and your reality are going to start clashing. And with the affirmations, they need to be believable, in my opinion. You know, you can't, like, for example, if I was to stand in front of a mirror and say, I am an astronaut, no matter how hard I try, right? That's never going to be true, right? It's too late. I'm too short. Like, you know, I'm tiny. Like, it's just not going to happen. But if I say to myself, I am a fit person and I can lift, I don't know, X amount of weight, I know that that's true. And that's working with sort of my identity that I know is real, if that makes sense. So I think any kind of affirmations, when they're so far-fetched, they don't work for people. Like, this is like the whole law of attraction stuff, but I'm not in favor of them because they sometimes say, I will make $10 million. It's like, okay, let's start with 100K. Like, especially if you're coming from maybe a background where you're working, for a 30 grand a year or something. You have to make that first step a bit more believable. So Jerome, I want to ask you, what are your thoughts on affirmations, just to finish up the session for today?
I think you got tricked because trader can. I mentioned I am a profitable trader, but not pejoratively. It's something Mo shared during fast markets segments a lot of times, and I love that. I love positive affirmation. So I'm not sure, but trader can, if you can confirm. I guess he was asking for that, but not sure. But I completely resonate. I mean, it's the exact point we were saying. If you affirm I am a millionaire. Am I a millionaire? No. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's not because you affirm something that you are. Of course, telling yourself something, I mean, you are the best versus I am a failure, will make a difference. Of course, your
Yeah.
self-trust, your self-image will be different. But repeating yourself from day to night, I am a profitable trader, while you are not, I don't believe it's going to change anything. I believe
Yeah.
it's going to make you worse because you're going to lose and you're going to rewire a false story. So rather focus on the process, rather focus on your emotions, alignment, what happens between the trades, what do you train? Reactivity, regulations, overthinking, observation. I think that could be the exercise we could give to people. Try to ask yourself this question as many times as possible on a daily basis. What am I training right now? Reactivity or regulation? Overthinking or observation? And if you, the individual who is listening to us right now, if you want to practice this exercise, we would advise you to count how many times a day you have been able to go through this question, to go through this sacred gap. Okay? If you are able to do this, trust me, next week you're going to come with a lot of content and we're going to see who did it and who did not. But it's going to be interesting.
Lovely. All right. So let's finish it up on that note. Today on the mainstream, we are going to have Coach Jay, Dakota, and Baron are going to be doing the in-office stream in the new studio in Chicago. So make sure you tune into that. It's going to be, good fun, and great show. Jerome, thank you so much for being here for the Neuro Wednesdays, as always. If anyone is looking for the slides, I believe that Bruno is going to be putting them up in the Discord. So that's going to be in Trader-Psychology channel. So you will find them there if you're interested in downloading them. So that's it for today. Jerome, any parting words? Are you going to be trading FOMC, or do you stay out normally?
First, thank you very much, as always, as all Neuro Wednesdays. Feeling very grateful. I will not trade FOMC. I stopped trading FOMC like a lot of time ago. I am unsure I'm gonna trade today. I already had
Hmm.
a short overnight that has paid,
Nice.
so don't need to take another trade. Unsure if I'm gonna take another one. But yeah, ending note on a love note, as always. Take care of yourself and please take well care of the people who love you. That's the most important things because if you're alone, you can love yourself, but nobody can love you more than the other people if you don't love you. So take care well of the people who love you. And thank you, Coach Deeyana, again for today.
That's beautiful. I'm going to end it at that. This was the Neuro Wednesday. This was Jerome. I'm Dee. And we will see you again next week for another Neuro Wednesday. Now, this is the last last Eurotrade stream because we have Juneteenth tomorrow. And I typically don't stream on Fridays. So I will see you next week. Everybody enjoy your weekend and stay out of FRMC. That would be my advice. This was TopstepTV. We will see you again very soon.
Let's go.